This is Rocky Asuka Romero of New Japan Pro Wrestling, NJPW Strong, talking shop, and you are listening and watching the Battleground Podcast.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Battleground Podcast. Thanksgiving week, and a lot of things to be thankful for. We've been doing the show for almost 2-3 years, give or take, a little over 3 years. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in my tag team partner. Thankful to have Eli along the ride of this podcast journey with us. And man, it's crazy how this has turned from just doing this in the studio once a week to being a home studio now and doing video. Mm-hmm. It's wild how things have changed.
Yeah, we're a couple months away from 3 years.
It is wild.
And you started it before me, so technically a little bit longer. But the me and you tag team are heading into about 3 years. So,
and when you look back at like the old episodes, like sitting here thinking about it, like the very first guest we ever had is your new AEW champion, Hangman Adam Page, and then you look at like other guests, and it was like Bob Saget and Rob Schneider, Rob Schneider, and I mean, it's just all over the place. And then now we went to wrestling, and well, let's go ahead and bring in our guest, a guy that's like, I don't think he ever gets to sleep. Let's bring him in. Rocky Romero joins the show. Rocky, what's going on, buddy?
Thanks for having me, gentlemen. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. Yeah, it's crazy because we were sitting here thinking about it, and I want to say possibly one of the last in-studio interviews that we had was when you guys were in town, and it was you and Finn Juice, and y'all came in a studio, and you were doing a New Japan show here in Nashville. That was right before COVID hit.
I know what. Looking back at it now, it's like, whoa, what happened, right? Like,
exactly.
What a world! Nobody was expecting the whirlwind that was about to happen. That was probably my last in-studio interview too, as well. For
really,
yeah.
And it feels like 5 years ago. Like so much crap has happened. Like, oh my gosh.
And we kind of sat here and thought about that, and it's like we've had a couple here and there, of in studio, but it's weird because it's like all the COVID protocols you have to go through, and it seems like this is now the new normal of you do these interviews where you roll into town, and even though you're in town, you're doing it either over the phone or a video interview
from a hotel room or something.
Yeah, for sure. And we sit back and think about it, and it's like I go back and look at that show that y'all had in Nashville, and it was really great because the one thing that me and Eli talked about was the fact that it was at like 3:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
you weren't taking up all your day, and I want to say maybe there was like a pay-per-view that night or whatever, but I mean, it was a great show, and you look at everybody that was on it, and it was it's you and Finn Juice versus God was there, and that was I think that was like one of the last shows Archer had before signing with AEW.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So, I can't wait to go back to Nashville. I'm like super stoked for. I'm sure next year we're gonna announce some kind of dates for Nashville, just because that's a good town that's been really good to us. I feel like we've always had bad luck in the fact that like either it was on the Sunday of like Super Bowl or it was on the Sunday of like Royal Rumble or something.
Yeah.
So like, but now we'll definitely be back there on like a Saturday or a Friday or something, and that's a really cool venue too that we've been running. And I don't know, Nashville's such a great wrestling town.
And I'll tell you, and Eli's been to a couple of New Japan shows. That was my first ever New Japan show that I ever saw, like in person. Like I've watched them on TV, but I was just like, this is great. Like there's not the hoopla, there's not the the in-between waiting around and stuff. It was boom, boom, boom. It was wrestling.
Right.
That was great.
Yeah. Even like the Strong tapings that we've been doing, and that's kind of like our touring company now, our touring group, the New Japan Strong, which is basically like a US offshoot company of New Japan. But it, like you said, it's down to the basics. You're going to get good matches, you're going to get good wrestling, you're going to get like simple storylines, but that are letting the characters be the intriguing part,
Yeah, for
instead
sure.
of like, somebody slept with somebody's mother and now they're, that's why they're fighting, which is great. I mean, sometimes we need a little bit of that,
or finding out where a golden egg is,
Exactly.
Yeah. I think
Oh,
I think
talk
some
about
people
this
have
all
just
night. Yeah.
leaned into the sports entertainment side of it too much, and
Right.
I think that's why a lot of companies like New Japan and like AEW, I think they're starting to shine because it is more based on the sport aspect of it and not the theatrics.
Right, right, and I think there's theatrics, but it's a different type of theatrics because it's more about the character, letting the characters kind of do their own thing, and
Yep.
like having a championship that matters, which AEW has been great about, and obviously like you guys are talking about Hangman Page, he just won the title, and how that was a year long
Yeah.
feud that
Oh,
that
massive.
yeah, and it was a great storytelling, and that's that's what everybody wants. Is everybody wants to be the top dog, everybody wants to be the champion. So like let them figure it out,
Right.
for a year, and still like that story is still not even done, because you can tell that Kenny's won one, or what, and Adams, Page has one. So like obviously we're 3 or 4 years from seeing where that goes. So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's the intriguing part.
Well, and if this was done by someone whose name rhymes with Pence, the fan, whatever, it would have been like, you know, Hangman would have been an alcoholic, and they would have done all this. You
Right,
know what I mean?
right,
Like
right,
it was. I mean, you don't need a lot to make this story go. You know what I mean? And I
right.
think that's what I think that's how New Japan has been so successful. I mean, there are, you know, partners double crossing each other and stuff like
Mhm.
that, but it's
Of course.
never like this is an undead bride and they're coming from another realm. And I mean,
Right,
every so
right.
often you'll have, characters like that, maybe going back to like Great Buddha or something. But I mean, generally it's more a focus on the sport. And I think for people that have out there who have not seen a New Japan show in person, please do it. It is unbelievable. A buddy of mine, actually, Garrett, he's flown to Japan and has seen shows in the Tokyo Dome. So
Awesome.
that's my next trip. I'm like, I got to do that at some point. So,
And of course, you're going to have to do it next year, which we'll talk about the whole NJPW versus Noah next year at Wrestle
ooh,
Kingdom. We'll talk
big
about that
stuff.
later in
Big
the
Okay.
show.
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing because we hear about this forbidden door, and we hear about all this stuff talking, and it seems like every time the forbidden door is talking, somehow Rocky's name gets brought up. Are you like the gatekeeper? Are you like the key holder for this door that opens it?
Yeah. Do all roads
I
go
am.
through you?
Yes, I am. I am the key holder. I am the like what's what, Ghostbuster? The
Gatekeeper and the keymaster. There you go.
Yeah, the
Like,
key
and,
master.
and I sit here and watch these interviews with Tony, and he's like, "Yeah, I've been talking with Rocky about this and this,"
Yeah.
and then you
We've
hear
had
like,
the Good Brothers on twice, and they're like, "We'll talk to Rocky. We'll get it." Like you
So-
have your hand in everybody's pocket. Like everybody knows you. Like
so I guess the question, because you read it all online, and of course you see AEW with the New Japan relationship, and there was that talks of like WWE and New Japan. Was there anything like almost about to happen, and then something just kind of fell through with the WWE and New Japan thing, or was it just kind of
I mean,
timing wasn't there?
like I don't really know how much I can actually say, but like I could say that definitely they reached out, definitely WWE reached out, as they do every X amount of years. I
couple
feel
years,
like
yeah.
they reach out. Yeah. So I mean, obviously like Danielson being in the middle of that, was no secret, and it was no secret to Tony either, so or AEW. So obviously Tony was, a part of that too, once Brian was, completely free and clear to make those, talks with him. So
Yeah,
so yeah, I mean, like there was a lot of people talk.
yeah.
You know what I'm
That,
saying?
and
Like
that's
there's
and that
there's
yeah,
talking. I wouldn't go so far as saying that there was ever going to be a deal made or anything like that. It's just like, if WWE comes knocking on the door and they want to talk, you're gonna like people are gonna listen,
yeah,
to what they have to say. But I mean, obviously working with AEW versus working with WWE is two completely different things,
right,
and where AEW, they have a true understanding of New Japan and what the product is, and have a complete respect for the history of the product, for what the product is, for the wrestlers and how they do it. I mean, obviously, because, New Japan wrestlers kind of, leaving New Japan helped to start AEW, right? So
right.
there's always been that crossover connection. So it just seems to make sense in the grand scheme of things, both companies working together. And I think it's been, obviously it's just been the beginning of it, and I think that this is going to be a, like the Hangman Page, Kenny Omega feud. This is going to be a long-term thing. So I think people, are excited, of course, and they are ready for like, Okada to show up and fight
Oh
Kenny,
yeah.
at Full Gear or something. But like, I think we're, this is going to be a long term thing because both companies are building themselves up right now.
Right, for sure. And I guess the question I have, another one for you, is the big shocker was when they talked about Daniel Bryan and Brian Danielson, and it was like Brian Danielson versus Rocky Romero, AEW. What was that like getting back in the ring with him after all these years?
It was really cool. It was really cool because I mean, it was kind of happened like short notice too. Like I think I got the call on a Friday, and then I showed up on Dynamite on that Wednesday. So um, Tony called me and he was like, "Hey, like I was talking to Danielson, and I was just thinking like, man, it would be cool if we had like some Forbidden Door action, maybe this next week on Dynamite." And Danielson's been getting ready for the pay per view. It might be like a perfect opportunity to do something with Danielson, and so I was thinking, of course, like, oh, who are they going to be interested in? Maybe like Juice or Finley or somebody.
Yeah.
And then he goes like, yeah, so yeah, we're talking maybe Rocky Romero versus Danielson. I was like, it took me a second because I was like, wait, what? Oh, me?
Yeah, that's
Oh, you
me.
want
That's
me?
me.
I'm Rocky. I'm Rocky. Okay,
I'm
okay.
Rocky. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense, because obviously Danielson and I have so much history going back to the original LA dojo, training together and making our debut in New Japan in October of 2002, just two young kids. So why not? Yeah, that's kind of cool. That's a really cool thing. So, and then I was just really happy with how it turned out, and I thought the match was really, really cool. And first time being on Dynamite and being on TNT was awesome. To be doing it against somebody who I had that kind of history with, and all of a sudden, obviously, he's a huge freaking superstar now. So,
Yeah.
getting to go toe to toe with him and showing what I got was amazing. So
Yeah. And you kind of almost pulled a ravishing Rick Rude, because you literally had Dynamite, and then the next night you were on Impact.
yeah,
Yeah.
Almost kind of that Rick Rude-esque thing.
I should have shaved on one of them, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Because I mean, you had Brian Danielson one night, and then you had Trey Miguel the next night, like putting in double duty, two big matches back to back.
Yeah, no, just having like yeah, and that's literally quite a lot of Forbidden Door action going on, obviously with Impact, and us working with Impact, us working with AEW, and I know ROH has had a tough year, but I know they have one show left, and that would be cool maybe to have some kind of representation for New Japan on their
Yeah.
final show as well. So yeah, I don't know, it's just super cool. I mean, it's a crazy time of wrestling. It's one of the best times of all time.
For
Oh,
sure.
without a doubt. Well, kind of going back to what we were kind of getting into with New Japan and slightly WWE. But anyways, so judging with the way that AEW came to be, with like you mentioned, a lot of the talent leaving and joining AEW, it the chance of a partnership between New Japan and AEW was unlikely at best. There was a lot of bruised egos, a lot of rumors out in the press, all that kind of stuff. So I
All
mean,
true.
how did New Japan and AEW, and then specifically Chaos is the first kind of thing coming in? I mean, when did those talks start? Did it happen after WWE fell apart, or had it already started? Like how? I think a lot of people are just really surprised that this happened, just because due to what was being said 2 years ago, it sounded like it was impossible that these two companies were going to work together.
Right. Well, Tony's always been cool, so I think
Yeah.
he's
You can
always,
tell he's a student of the game. He grew up with it. He
yeah,
loved it. Yeah.
and he's kind of always, I feel like been open to the idea, right? And then you have like Jericho, who's always been somebody who's wanted to make it happen ever since he went over for New Japan to wrestle Tanahashi. Then
Mhm.
that was kind of like the beginning of it.
Yep.
Tony giving the okay to defend, or to bring the AEW belt and all that. That was like a thing. So it kind of started with Jericho, obviously Moxley being a guy who's important to both companies, and and Moxley always wanting to do something, and kind of being that main focal point, because obviously, he wasn't really mixed up into the drama of what was going on between AEW, New Japan, and the wrestlers, whatever. And then the third big component, I feel like, besides Tony, was obviously Kenny. Kenny being being a part of it, and kind of Kenny was one of the ones who reached out first and just said like, "Hey, I know Moxley and Kenta have this thing, and I'm doing this." Obviously, he had a big rivalry with Moxley as well, so Moxie being the focal point, like I think there's something to do on both sides here. So I mean, and obviously, Kenny and New Japan had their issues, as he left New Japan and to join AEW. And I think so that was a big step in the right direction, and obviously Kenny is incredible at what he does. He's literally one of the best. He's a true pro. And he was, obviously to see the grand picture, then he was the one kind of who helped facilitate that, amongst, I guess, probably at least the EVPs,
Yeah, that was that had to be a huge olive branch to come from him and be like,
Right.
hey, let's do that. Yeah. Speaking of that, do you think we're ever going to see Kenta and Punk? They've been kind of hinting.
Man, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
I think all of us wrestling fans are just
at
waiting.
this point,
don't
there's
think-
nothing
Right.
stopping it at this point.
Right. At this point, there's just, whatever.
It'd kinda be
3,000,
silly not to.
9,000 miles maybe or something. And that's
Yeah.
about it. Yeah. So,
I'm sure
I
Tony's
mean,
got a couple private jets for Mr. Punk there.
I'm sure they
Mr.
have a
Penta.
Jaguars logo somewhere
Yeah.
on there,
Zip over
I don't
to
think they're
Japan in
hurting.
a couple hours.
Right.
But there's a lot of great shows that are coming up for New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong tapings, which, of course, December 9th, Hollywood, California, January 15th in Seattle, February 17th in Hollywood again, and March 20th in St. Petersburg, Florida. Of course, you can still grab your tickets right now. NJPW1972.com. And it seems like a thing that New Japan always does is they do very well is they draw a lot of big name talent, especially with the upcoming match between Christopher Daniels and Jay White, which is a match that we thought probably could have never happened.
Nope.
Right.
And that's just one of the examples. And now it was also announced that Eddie Kingston is going to be making a return to New Japan. What does 2021 Eddie Kingston bring to the table for New Japan?
Man, Eddie is 2021 was Eddie Kingston's year.
It was.
Talk about one of the most consistently awesome wrestlers that every time the ball was given to him, he just freaking put his head down and drove it all the way, to the goal. So having him, we had him come out for the Philadelphia events, and it was like him and Moxley against Archer and Suzuki, right? So
right.
that's
Yeah.
I think that's just about to air, I think this week or next week on Strong. But I mean, that was a hell of a match. And so Eddie loves Japanese wrestling. He loves, he prefers All Japan. I mean, like the old school 80,
Well, 90s All
80s.
Japan is hard to beat. I mean,
it's hard to beat. It's
it
one of the greatest eras in professional wrestling history, right? So but for him, wrestling in a New Japan ring, whether it be in America or Japan, it means a lot to him, and you could tell. So I'm excited to have him be a part of these shows, and I'd love to see him more, as much as we can in that ring, because I feel like that's his style, and he gets it, he loves it, and he's passionate about wrestling for New Japan. So the same way that we see that passion that he wrestles as hard as he does for AEW, I feel like you're going to see it just as much in a New Japan ring.
Yeah, and I think you are seeing a Japanese wrestler through the filter of New York City. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of his stuff is just what he watched.
New York City strong style. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Right.
And to put it to your point, I mean, he just had a pay-per-view crowd booing CM Punk. I mean, he's unbelievable. I mean, it's just like you said,
they chanted all those years for Punk, and then they
come back and not only they
rip him,
booing him, but they're cheering, Eddie. So it's crazy. So next year we have a very exciting year. It's 2022. It is the 50th anniversary of New Japan Pro Wrestling. A lot of special events planned, a lot of special guests coming in, everything. The first thing that was announced was New Japan versus Noah, which is a lot of intriguing storylines going on. How did this get lined up with the two promotions, and what can fans expect from it? And then is there any other little secrets you can maybe reveal, maybe in the works?
Well, to be honest, I had no idea about this New Japan Noah
really
thing until
you found out like we did
the day of. Yeah,
the day before they send you the graphics and be like, hey, we need everybody to post this tomorrow.
No, I like when they started talking about the press conference, the dual press conference, and at the same time, then I was like, that's kind of when I heard about it. I was like, oh wait, what's going on? we're doing what? I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was completely out of left field. Talk about forbidden doors, like
Oh, geez.
there was a lot of a lot of tension between both companies, since the last time they worked together.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, obviously Noah has had so many changes backstage, completely different people, now heading Noah. So, and people that are familiar with, the New Japan side of things. So, uh, office workers that used to work in New Japan are now heading Noah. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense on a lot of levels. And obviously, Japanese wrestling has been through the ringer the last 2 years
Ugh.
with COVID and everything. So it makes sense on both ends, to work together in some kind of way and do something really cool for the fans, especially going into next year where it looks very likely that a lot of the restrictions are going to, start to get lifted. So why not kick off, the new year with a bang and, New Japan versus No, and like some dream matches maybe that we've never seen before, or,
Oh, yeah.
even them just everybody being under one roof, is really cool.
Well, and then with the history between specifically Muda from New Japan to Noah, I mean, that alone is an intriguing
Right.
story. But then you have, like you said, I mean, just a who's who of dream matches, especially.
Marufuji, I mean,
Oh,
like,
yeah. I mean, they Noah's got some really good young talent right now. So I
Mhm.
mean, it's just you could have their young ones against the older New Japan, younger New Japan against their older ones. I mean, it's just, I mean, you have freaking Jay White against Great Muta, Rocky against Great
Right,
Muta. I mean, there's
right.
so many matches
Yeah.
you could come up with.
I want to get that phone call and be like, hey,
Yeah.
Rocky, you're wrestling the Great Muta at
No,
Yokohama.
no pressure. It's Tokyo Dome.
You just went toe to
no
toe with
pressure.
Danielson, so we feel like this is your time.
That was
It's
the
like-
warm up. Here's the real dance. Yeah.
Then you ask, how many times can you get the miss that night during the match? Because you got to, right?
Just keep
Yeah,
bringing it.
yeah.
I'll just keep kicking out.
Just bring the miss. Let's have every color you could think of, Muda, and just go with the miss, and we'll just go through the entire thing.
Oh my God, he's down with the purple mist. What does
He's
that
gonna-
mean? I have no idea.
You're gonna look like a rainbow just laying in the middle of the mat.
That'll be amazing stuff. And speaking of amazing stuff, let's kind of talk about we're gonna kind of jump out of wrestling and talk about something else real quick. The music, man.
Yeah.
Talk about the music.
I've been dropping a lot of songs lately. There are a lot of songs that I've been working on or had kind of like, I just unreleased, but I've been working on them when I had time. And then, I mean, obviously the last, month has been extremely crazy travel wise, but yeah, especially like during my last time that I went over to Japan, I did quarantine. So like I really put a lot of effort, in those 14 days into like doing a bunch of songs and stuff. So I'm going to be releasing them kind of like every other week, every 3 weeks. I got one with Trey Miguel that I want to put out probably next, which is pretty dope. He's an exceptional rapper. If no one
Really?
knows. Yeah, he's very
And
good.
here's the thing: is like I didn't know he was a rapper. So
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't consider myself a rapper. I just like to make music, but like he's an actual, like he can actually rap. He can actually
Really?
flow. Yeah, he's really good.
are you gonna be doing anything with any recently free agent Swerve anytime soon?
That's
maybe
a possibility because the last time I saw Swerve was not that long ago, and we had talked about maybe doing some music. So yeah, I would love to do something with Swerve. I think he's a super talented dude. I don't understand how WWE could let somebody go like that. I mean, he's super talented, fantastic wrestler. That's somebody who I would love to see on New Japan Strong, and head over to Japan one day and you do a Super Junior or something like that because that dude's super talented. I mean, obviously we just had Jonah,
I was about to say, yeah.
formerly Bronson Reed, come out for our New Japan show, Battle in the Valley, which you can still check out on Fight TV or New Japan World. And then, of course, Buddy Matthews, as well, just wrestling Okada. I mean, just thrown right to the biggest guy of them all.
I
So,
mean, go. I mean, what's a dream match for Matthews? I don't know. What about Okada? Like
yeah,
right out
we'll
the
get that
right out of the
lined
gate.
up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'll be good. So yeah, I mean, it's such a shame that they're letting go, such great talent, but it's great for AEW, New Japan, and some of these other organizations, even the indies in general, which I feel like have a lot of young talent, but are missing some of these names because everybody's kind of like, went to these bigger companies, so they're not completely available. So now, I mean, like the indies are going to get, some really awesome talent, which is just going to help the overall professional wrestling world.
Absolutely. What are do you have a just off the top of your head, are there a couple, indie guys or girls or tag teams or whatever that are standing out to you that are like maybe they haven't wrestled for New Japan yet that you're like, we got to get them in a ring? I mean, what do you look for in indie talent? Is it name recognition? Is it just positive attitude, good work rate? Like, what
Right.
is it goes into it?
I mean, name recognition is always good, and the fact of like if you're making a splash, that's and people want to see you, right? I mean, like
Mhm.
that's I mean, we're still in the business of selling tickets and
The
selling
spectacle.
pay-per-views and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, I mean that's the important part too. So like people who are making a splash, whether it be in like GCW, who I think GCW has a great finger on the pulse of like who the next person is. So like definitely they're a company that I watch quite a bit, and we've worked quite a bit with them. With sending Suzuki there, and we
Oh,
were
yeah.
gonna do some more stuff pre.
He had a
uh
crazy summer.
yeah, he had a great summary, right? Yeah, we were gonna do more stuff with them, sending talent, like Shingo was signed up to do some
Ooh,
stuff with
nice.
them, Mania weekend that had gotten canceled, 2 years ago or whatever. Um, so yeah, I mean, it really doesn't matter like what your background is or where you're from, but if you're making a splash and you've got something that people want to see, I think that's the number one thing. And then the second thing is obviously the in-ring ability, because you have to. I mean, New Japan, you can't be a slouch.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You've got to be, you got to have your basics down. You got to have, you got to be able to put on a match and hang with, honestly, some of the best athletes in
Right.
professional wrestling. So I
Mhm.
mean, even like our young lions, from the LA dojo, Shibata has done an incredible job with those guys. They're all studs, and they work super hard. So you got to at least, you got to be able to keep up with them at least.
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
mean, in the roster with New Japan historically, there's usually like the A pluses and then A minus. I mean, you don't have a lot of C, D, F
Right.
rank. I mean, the
It's a
talent is
couple of them,
stacked.
but not
Well,
many
okay.
of them.
Yeah.
But not many of them. And even
No.
our C's, I would feel like our C's and D's, within New Japan are like in ring are still like, B's in other
In
places. You know
most
what I'm
places,
saying? Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
So they may be an A with Vince, but they're not a A in New Japan.
right, right. And that's the cool thing about New Japan too, is like, uh, you know, such a great eye for talent. They can literally take somebody who didn't quite get their fair share, or fair crack in WWE, and where you didn't even know that they were a good wrestler because they never got the opportunity to do it. And then they come to New Japan and like just make a huge splash.
Mhm.
And like even somebody like Fred Rosser, who
Oh, he's been killing it
who
since
was
he
known,
left
yeah,
WWE.
formerly known as Darren Young. I mean, obviously, Fred did some really great things with Nexus and primetime players and stuff like that. But like you never really got to see him shine because he never really got the opportunity to throw down,
Mhm.
with somebody like Tom Lawler for 30 minutes, or
yeah.
Yep.
something like that. So like that's kind of the cool thing to see him really shine, in a New Japan ring.
Oh, for sure. And this is the fun part of the show where we get to take where people get to chime in and ask fan questions. So listeners of the show, we let people know that you're going to come on the show, and we grabbed a question, and this is going to be a fun one, especially for us as well, because we want to know this. They want to know about your time as Black Tiger. You wrestled under the legendary mask at one point. Can you give us a little insight into how you became this bestowed with this character?
Yeah, I can. So, yeah, I just remember, I mean, like getting the call initially. I think it was like Simon Inoki or something. Like they called me and were like, "Hey, so yeah, New Japan wants you to become Black Tiger," and I was like, "Okay, me?" And yet again, it was another Rocky moment. Like, "Oh, me, Rocky?"
Yeah, me.
Yeah. So, and I was like, "Well, I mean, obviously." That means a lot because you think about who's been Black Tiger,
Mhm.
Rollerball, Mark Rocco, Eddie Guerrero, obviously, Silver King, and then I was the fourth
Bunch of
incarnation.
nobodies, I
Yeah,
guess.
a
Yeah.
bunch of a bunch of guys who have done a lot in this business, right? And
Yeah.
then there's me. So, so yeah, I mean, honest, like just and especially being young, I think it was like 22 or 23 or something. So like waiting for my big break. That's one of those moments where you're like waiting for like a really big break. And then here is one that's like literally just handed to you because all
Mhm.
you got to do is put this mask on it and the character's already, there's a story built in for
Yeah.
it. So, so like, and then what better to do it? I'm going across, to battle across with Tiger Mask 4, who's like the junior ace at the time, so the
Mhm.
whole division is built around him. So here I come. I'm like, well, I guess I'm the top heel now, which
Yeah,
is kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
like me and Liger are the top heels.
Yeah.
You know, like it's crazy. So yeah, I mean, like, and then just to fast forward, just to get the opportunity to do that, I mean, that was obviously like a huge step forward in my career, you know, as a young man. And then, you know, like it was all surreal. Like the day that we did a show in like Milan, Italy, like a New Japan show, like rent, like I don't know, there's like a Italian promoter, and like I wasn't supposed to go, and Inoki like invited me out to Roppongi one night, and he was basically like, "Are you going to Italy?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "You're one of the best wrestlers in our company." We were drinking, of course. And he's like, "You're one of the best wrestlers in our company." I was like, "I am." And he was like, I think you should be in Italy." So I went to Italy, and the
And you
match,
can't tell someone like that, no, I
yeah, who
guess.
you
I
gonna
mean, yeah.
turn it
I don't
down, you
think
know?
so.
I'm busy that Sunday.
Yeah.
No, thank you. But he goes, so I get booked. The next thing you know, like they're literally leaving like 2 days later. And I get this phone call from the office like the next morning, like 8 a.m. Like, oh, we're gonna send or give the young lion one of like your passport because we got to get you like a visa like now. So I was like, okay. So they got me like a visa in like 24 hours. I don't know. Inoki just
Man.
pulled a lot of strings. So and anyway, so I'm in Milan, Italy, and it's me and Liger, who's a heel, like literally the top two heels, against Ultimo Dragon and Tiger Mask 4. And I'm like, what is going on in my life? Like, this is like, I wasn't
That's
supposed
one
to
of
be
those
here.
you could pretty much quit after that. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm done. This is
Like I my first match ever was in front of 20 people in a Mexican restaurant in Rialto, California. And like 10 of the people who were there was like my friends and family. You know, so
yeah.
like I wasn't supposed to be here, you know, like I wasn't supposed to have this moment, you know, Milan,
Yeah.
Italy, and I'm like drinking wine every night and like, you know, eating this amazing pasta dishes and seafood, and it's all free, you know. I'm like, what is going on in my life? You know, like
Yeah.
whatever. So the pretty cool moment just to kind of take it all in for once, you know, because sometimes you forget to take it all in these huge moments. And it was just like, whoa, this is really cool. Like I'm here with the guys that I watched and idolized for years on videotape, VHS
Mhm.
videotapes that I would trade with people I know. And here I am amongst them, you know. So pretty
Yeah.
cool moment.
And at 22, you kind of like, you don't know what you don't know. And, you know, you don't really know pressure. And you're like, screw it, I'll do it, you know? And then,
Yeah.
but then when you're like 32,
Yep.
like, whoa, you want me to do what now? You start getting a little bit more cautious about that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Well, so last time we interviewed you, pre-pandemic, we had mentioned your time working with NWA and your former NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion. You had mentioned this was really before talk of Forbidden Door started, but you had been, you know, you mentioned you were open to work with them again, and obviously they've worked with AEW and Fred Rosser. He's signed with NWA, or he may not be officially signed, but he's doing stuff with them, and he's done stuff with New Japan. They just announced the return.
Sorry, my dogs are upset because
It's okay.
somebody opened the front door.
Yeah. Or maybe they're not getting enough attention. That's what my dog
Yeah, probably.
I call my dog Tinkerbell because if I don't give him enough attention, he dies. So, but,
that's basically all dogs, right?
Yeah,
Every dog.
yeah. So anyway, so now that the NWA is reintroducing the title you have held, is that something you wouldn't mind collecting again for your stat sheet?
100%. I mean, and obviously the NWA has changed so much since, you know, the last time we spoke as well, you know. So yeah, I really like what Billy Corgan's doing with the NWA. I think like the way he's reintroduced it and how he's telling the stories, you know, with each character and each personality is really cool. And I think they've done a really, really, really good job of carving out their audience. So uh, yeah, I mean, why not add it to the list of you know, forbidden doors that Rocky Romero could open, and you know, maybe showing up for the, and I don't know if they do a tournament or whatever for the World Junior, but I feel like I could definitely be included in that conversation being a former champion.
Oh, for sure. And
For sure.
they just had a live event about a month ago that I went to, and I mean, they like you said, they've really turned a corner, and I mean, their product's awesome. They're starting to get in some big names, Mike Bennett,
Right.
Matt Taven.
Matt
Did
Taven,
Taven
sorry,
just do some stuff too?
Yeah,
Right?
I just when I was
They're,
saying that, all I was about to say was purple. I was like, purple?
Yeah.
What it was? Yeah, Matt
They're
Taven.
defending the ROH tag team titles on the pay-per-view next
The
weekend.
next
Oh,
NWA tag team.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pay-per-view.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like NWA is another one that that definitely could take advantage of some of this newly released talent. You know, like imagine like Taya being over there, you know, like
Oh,
added to
man.
the women's division, or you know, and Morrison as well. I mean, I think, you know, Morrison is also somebody like I think that could be really interesting to see Morrison in a New Japan ring as well. I
Yeah.
think he'd be cool. You know, I don't know
I
what
think both of
maybe
them
he'd
could end
like
up
Johnny
any
Strong
ring.
style or something. I don't know.
That's what I
Oh,
was
yeah,
gonna
there
say.
you
I was
go.
like, what do we
Yeah.
call him? Is if he comes there, is it yeah, Johnny Strong style? If he goes
Yeah.
to AEW, is he Johnny Elite?
Right,
You know?
right.
Yeah,
Not
there you
not
go.
my original joke, although I stole that from Chris Charlton. He texted that to me. So
Go
shout
for
out
it.
to
It's
Chris
fair
Charlton.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
I think we were going to talk about talking shop,
I
right?
know. How is it? Let me ask you this: as from podcaster to podcaster, is it difficult to put out 2 episodes every week? Because that's what y'all are doing now, right?
No, we're not putting out 2 episodes. We're putting out a vlog for
Mm.
YouTube, and we're doing and we do have a Patreon, but usually that's only like 10 minutes or so, and that kind of follows our main show. But yeah, every Sunday we're supposed to be dropping a show, but we're all really bad at it because we're all really busy and we all hate podcasting now. We
Yeah.
loved it. We loved it when we didn't have to do it. It sounded so romantic, like, oh guys, we'll get together and we'll call each other or we'll be on the road and we'll do it. And now it's just like we all hate it.
Yeah,
Say we're
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
quit
yeah.
every week, even though when we actually do it, we have so much fun and we love it. So
Right.
it's not really true, but we just like to complain, of course, because we're wrestlers. But
Yeah.
We're the
but-
same way every time we do this. We do this. We're like, oh, we're gonna take 2 weeks off, and then it's like, nah, we're not gonna take 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
right. So yeah, just finding the time to get every 3 really busy people together to do it can be tough, you know. And at least if me and Gallows can usually get it done, but the problem is always Carl Anderson because he's got 50 million kids, so it's really
Oh,
hard
yeah.
to get him to say yes to certain times. But yeah, Talking Shop is going great. You know, for the last couple months we've been we're on Blue Wire now, and they've been super awesome to work with, and you know, it's just cool. It's going.
Have you gotten to do the live shows too?
We started doing live shows. I think we've done about 3 of them,
Mhm.
and they've been so much fun. None of us remember any of them.
Yeah.
And
Usually how it goes.
I remember the
Yeah.
one, the one there was one in Vegas, right? For the
Yeah.
Impact.
Oh,
right
yeah.
before that,
Yeah. We did one in Vegas. It'll probably never see the light of day because it's just like we
Sin
worked
City.
with a promoter, yeah, and the promoter was like, yeah, you know, I'd love to put this out and blah blah. And so we were like, yeah, well, you know, we might have to edit it. So like we got it edited down, and then we still watched it and we're like, I don't know, we might be pushing it if we put this out. So sorry guys, but it'll never see the light of day. You got to come and actually witness one in person if you want to see it, one of these live ones. I feel like because they just get too freaking rowdy. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we had talked to LG about it, and we were like, hey man, because he was telling us about the one that they were doing in Nashville when Impact was doing the tapings. I think it was
Right.
Sweetwater. Is that what it was called?
Yeah. I didn't go to that. Was just ended up being just the Good Brothers, but yeah.
And because that was what we asked him. I asked him, I was like, is Rocky gonna be there? Because it's been a while since we talked to him, and he's like, nah, but we'll try to fit him in a suitcase or something to get him in there. But yeah, I mean, he told us about all the stuff that you do, and he's like, it's unscripted there. It's like we're drinking, we're having a good time. And I think that's the best thing to do when you do those live shows. Because I've been to a couple of these live podcast tapings. I went to one where it was Conrad and Tony Schiavone doing one at Zany's in Nashville. Or no, it was Conrad and Eric Bischoff. And then Tony Schiavone then came out and surprised everybody, and then everybody lost their stuff. But I think those are the fun ones because you get that interaction and the people can ask you guys questions that they don't get to normally do. I mean, they could tweet the question all day long, but
right. And the guys usually we're quite a few drinks in, so it's very unfiltered. So you're not gonna get like the political Rocky Romero answer or the political
This
Carl
isn't TV
Anderson.
Rocky. This isn't TV Rocky.
Yeah. So sometimes I worry about what we do and say, but it's all in good fun. And the cool thing is about it, like honestly, is the fans kind of get that, and they're like really protective of us as well. So like they're not like holding us to like the shit we said, or
Yeah.
and that's when you had good fans because they're there. They're They're
And it's
hanging
all
out.
in good fun. And you know,
Right.
and we're ham, so we're hamming it up anyway. It's probably
Right.
not even the truth of how we actually feel if we answer something some way, you know. It's just we're
Right.
hamming it up, you know.
For sure.
Yeah. There's nobody on Twitter like they dressed up somebody like Sting and his name wasn't Sting.
It was
They called him
Sting.
Stang.
It was Sting. Yeah, that kind of thing.
I love the Talking Shop Mania. Is there any plans to do another one? Because I know every time we've talked to the Good Brothers about it, and I'm like, okay, you've got some under the belt. Is there another one?
I mean, I've written quite a bit of this Talking Shop Mania 3. Me and Gallows are all in. Carl Anderson, we cannot get him to move. But the last conversation we had about it, he said, wow, all this talent that got released from WWE, it might be time to do Talking Shop Mania 3.
There we go.
So he may be right on that. Maybe me and Gallows are always maybe pushing it too quickly, but maybe it feels maybe a little more natural to kind of like maybe do it now with all these very interesting releases. Yeah.
And if you ever need two marks to come a part of it, you've got two right here. They'll come and help be a part of the tapings.
We need as many minions as we can get.
I'll wear the New Japan jacket and I'll wear a Good Brother shirt.
Hell yeah.
There we go.
I'm with it.
Yeah. And then, you know, next year being the 50th anniversary, why not have Talking Shop 3, tie it in, boom.
Right. Noah, New Japan versus Talking Shop.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
That would be amazing.
I would love to see love to see like Okada with like
the cock torture.
Yeah. I was like,
go have Muda versus Stang.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which one is it? Is it Chad Too Bad? Is that the one? Is that one of them?
Chad Too Bad. Yep.
Yeah. So like him and Okada face it. I mean, that would be funny.
That's
the rematch that nobody wanted to see from 2002 or what is it? 2012 G1 final. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, Rocky, we don't want to take up too much of your time. It's been an honor talking with you again. And before we let you go, is there anything you want to say to everybody out there that's watching and or listening?
Yeah, check out New Japan Strong. It's like I said, the offshoot brand of New Japan Pro Wrestling here in the States. It's an awesome weekly television show. It's only like an hour long. You can check it out on Fight TV or New Japan World every Saturday night. And we're also going to be touring. So check out NJPW1972.com to get tickets and info for coming to your area. And also check out Talking Shop. Every Sunday drops. Good Brothers and I, well, sometimes but the Good Brothers are I took a little bit of a sabbatical, but I should be back probably in the next week or two. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks, everybody. Check that out on Twitter.
Music goes, is that under your name or do you have a cool
Rocky Romero on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, or whatever you listen to music? You can find me, Rocky Romero. Just put out a brand new theme song that I'm going to be using for 2020, the rest of 2021 and 2022. So yeah, definitely check it out. It's called Grand Finale. It's pretty awesome.
Go stream it right now and put that repeat button on it and just let it play over and over and over.
Get me paid.
And over. Well, get Rocky paid multiple ways. Buy his merch, listen to his music, listen to the podcast, get everything that if it says Rocky Romero's name on it, just click buy. Everything.
You heard the man. You heard the man.
Well, Rocky, again, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight with us.
Thank you both for having me. It's been really awesome. It's nice to see you guys again.